This episode of Filthy Hope, we're going to be talking about sex offenders. So just heads up, this may be triggering for some people. We hope it is a story of hope, but if you are upset or a victim survivor yourself, just be aware this is what we're talking about. And if you are triggered during this episode, please reach out and get some help from someone. One of the counselling services, look up online, call into Uniting Heart and Soul, but make sure that you are getting help if you need to.
When I was a young kid, got offended against by a pedophile. He was a pedophile. And it really bucked my life up. We were both lonely.
Oh, wow.
I remember going to the jail years ago, and this head psychologist said, "Oh, well, you know what those men are like, Peter? They're always whinging. Those men." I said, well, the moment you call those men, you can't be a psychologist.
Are you okay?
A little bit triggered.
Yeah.
A million things I want to say.
Real conversations, radically honest about how we actually find hope when life is really bringing us down.
Welcome back to Filthy Hope. I'm Rev Ness and I'm with Rev John. Just John and Ness.
But we're Reverend Brother and Sister.
We are.
Because we are ordained ministers
We are.
of the word. And we're talking with another
Yeah, we are.
ordained minister.
And this is-
retired. Sorry.
Reverend Dr. Peter Powell. And Peter's here to talk with us today. This is like a part 3 of a series that we've done with Peter. And today, if you haven't watched the other episodes, really worth having a listen so you can get some context around why we're talking about this today. It's not just a random conversation. Peter is a reverend in the Uniting Church and has been for 58 odd years, and a psychologist who ran the Psychological Institute within the Uniting Church, which is now Genesis Psychology, which is a part of Uniting. And Peter's here because he did a load of work with sex offenders. And this is a topic that I'm really interested in because for many, many reasons, as a survivor of child abuse, I'm interested to know how you worked with these people. Is there hope? Is there hope in the filth of child abuse?
Well, there's nothing more filthy than abuse of a child.
That's right. It's pretty awful.
So, Peter, you, as Ness just said, in a previous episode, you went into ordination, you worked with the church, you then found yourself caring for people through pastoral care, and then you amped that up into psychology, created, as Ness said, the Pastoral Counselling Institute. How then did that morph into working with sexual offenders?
And why them? Of all the people in the world, why rock spiders? What was that about?
Yeah. Well, let me take a step at a time because being neurodiverse, I'll lose track of myself. Let's change the language a bit. I don't refer to, and we didn't in our centre for many years, sex offenders, because the moment you do that, you've labelled somebody as a particular person, like a bus driver or a pilot. But if you say the person is a sex offender, that's their identity.
Right.
So we changed that to men who commit sex offences.
Right.
So they are, you're trying to separate a little bit, but keep them together. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we've got to be careful that we don't put them all in the same camp, because there are men who commit sex offenders who are not pedophiles, right? Then there are pedophiles who commit sex offenders who are pedophiles. And then there are pedophiles who know they're pedophiles and come for treatment but have never want to and never commit an offence.
And can I also add, it's not just men.
No. There are women offenders. Look, it's hard to know the figures because this is a very difficult area, and I'm a little bit out of date, but by the time I retired, we were getting to about, they used to say 95.5%, but it's probably more like 80-20.
Yeah, interesting.
Right. Probably we're always going to have more men, and look, there are psychological, social and a whole kind of reasons about men and their violence. Go back into history with war and a whole lot of other things, and when men go to war, they rape, inevitably. And so there's something pretty scary about what men do when they get given a gun. So men are always probably going to be more of the domestic violence. There's women being killed every week by men in Australia. It's a tragedy. And so men are scary at times and when they get like that. So we worked with the men committing offences.
And how did you move into that work?
Okay, so basically it's like anything else, it comes to you. I never woke up one morning and said, I know what I'd like to do. I'd love that. That was not my desire.
No, I can imagine not.
Having been abused as a child myself, I didn't want to go there at all. So, but you work in psychology and someone comes and makes an appointment. And they tell you, I think the first one was a 7-year-old girl and a man, a fence in the car while he was minding the child for the mother. And I've got to treat this man. So you look around, I'd been doing domestic violence for a while before that. So violent men I'd work with. That was a kind of an extension. So I looked around, well, where's the research? What's written about it? I mean, you start from scratch. You read the literature, you read the research. You look around Sydney and you think, oops, hang on, no one else is doing it either, or very few are doing it. So for every 100 psychologists, there might be one. So no one was doing it. There were no treatment, like at least with the domestic violence, they had the Duluth program. They had programs that were in place. There was no program for sex offenders, people committing sex offences. So I began with that first one and using basic psychology, reading like crazy, researching like crazy, you come up with a treatment plan. Then you go to court, doing a psychology report for the court, and the prosecutor, who's pretty hostile, understandably, says, okay, Dr. Powell, how many of these have you done? Try and undermine your credibility. And I said, this is my first, but if you ask any psychologist in Sydney, it's probably their first.
Are we talking the 80s or 90s?
80, late 80s.
Yeah.
Late 80s.
It was still a very taboo subject.
Very taboo subject. It still is. And a very traumatising subject. It's just the most awful thing.
And that's probably partly the taboo because...
Well, it's who wants to talk about children being touched? I mean, your brain... I mean, I even find now, I get this funny feeling if having adult grandchildren, granddaughters in their 30s, if I see someone being a little bit like on a beach, a bit feminine and showing off, I kind of, it's the kind of thing which you don't want to see your grandchildren half-dressed.
Being sexy.
And sexy. And so there's an incest taboo in most cultures. Pretty well every culture has that incest taboo, no matter where it is. And so there's that thing that brothers and sisters don't do certain things, parents don't do certain things with children. And when they cross that line, we just haven't got a brain that can cope with that.
Yep.
So we inevitably think, well, that must be a bad, awful, disgusting, let's execute that person. What we don't realise is that there are all kind of crimes going on that people do, and on a continuum of criminal behaviour, you've got the out-and-out total criminal who would kill you, murder you, rape you, and not even worry about it.
Blink.
Right the way back to the more lower level where you got these dopey men who, if I would give a quick diagnosis while you've got a short program, pretty well 99.9% have attachment disorder. That is, they have never attached emotionally when they were little to an object of attachment, such as a parent.
Like a mum or a dad?
A mum or a dad or an uncle or somebody. So there's very poor attachment.
Why does that happen, Peter?
Oh, divorce, adoption, fostering, sexual abuse, alcoholism. I mean, alcoholic families are rife with all kind of attachment issues because alcoholics by definition don't make good attachment and then they produce children who don't attach. And so when you're not attached and you don't know who you are and you're wandering around, you're just like, who am I?
Yep.
And you want to be nurtured and you get nothing from that. You're prone to having an affair.
Right.
Or prone to touching a child. Now, that doesn't mean all attachment. So here's the dilemma. Most people in jail have poor attachment and bad childhoods. But most bad childhood people don't go to jail.
Interesting.
So, yes, it's a predisposing factor, but not necessarily are you going to go there. So we've got to
It's not a cause.
It's not a cause.
And not a
No,
justification.
it's not a justification or a cause. And we've got to make sure we encourage the poorly attached people like me. You're not going to turn out to be a sex offender necessarily. But if you're sitting there in your dopey, poorly attached, probably a bit depressed, anxious state, and a child jumps on your lap and is cute and lovely and nice, oh, hang on, my brain says I'd like something nice and non-threatening. I cuddle it and then I touch it.
Oh, far out.
So they were what we call our wandering offenders. or we used to call them the Venus flytrap offenders. It's in the pot. It'll eat you if you get close, but it's not going to leave the pot. It doesn't go out and seek out a victim.
Opportunistic?
It's opportunistic. Now, then you get from that offender right through to, I think I might set up a bit of an environment, like becoming a youth worker in a church or a teacher.
Because I've got like an attraction to that.
I may not know it. I may not be intentional in the brain, but I'm unconsciously finding myself in a situation where I have access,
and then
it goes power, and then it goes to very intentional. So there's this whole continuum.
Wow.
Now, the pedophiles I work with were those that said, it's terrifying me that I've got this constant feeling of touching a child. I don't want to do it. Can you help me?
Wow.
10% were OCD with medication, fixed it overnight with medication.
Wow.
The other 90% just got to do the hard yards, and they did. Really hard work.
And what does that hard work involve?
Oh, looking at the attachment issue, looking at identity, who am I, finding confidence, self-confidence, just in basic psychotherapy of bringing wholeness to that person, making better relationships, teaching them how to make adult relationships. They're often very terrified of adult relationships. So children are easier. And so it takes years and years and years of that.
Each person being different.
Each person being different, each story being different. We did a few of those, not many, because that's really hard long-term work. The main work was with your wandering offender who is not a pedophile. So my main attraction, my desire is not I want to touch children. My main desire is I'm not sure what it is, but I'm in jail because I've done this.
So they are in jail because they actually have touched a child.
Touched a child.
But their sexual attraction is not towards children specifically.
Their sexual attraction is diverse.
Yeah.
They're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
So it could be
But a pedophile is somebody who
is the pedophile. I want to touch little boys or little girls. That's
because
it. That's
they have a sexual
attraction. And you don't understand,
to
John,
them.
because you've never done it, how good it is, right? So they're
it's
very
like
hard to treat
spew.
because their brain and their thinking is sociopathic and narcissistic, and narcissists are virtually impossible to treat.
Wow.
Because I don't want to be treated because I'm fine. It's you the problem.
Yeah.
We've got a few politicians that float around like that, but that's another story. So so they would come in, and then you got to make the assessment, and that could be wide-ranging from very treatable men that are really committed to I'm only here because the parole said I've got to be here. Now, the early idea was that it still perpetuates a bit. You cannot treat someone that's unwilling, and that's rubbish. Of course you can, as long as the court and the parole will give you the constraints. Now, I've run into a problem over the years because the court will not. We don't make there's a lot of jockeying for position. So if the court won't give me that permission, or if the parole won't work with me, I don't take the client.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I need to know that if they step out of line, I can ring the parole person and say, right, you're out of the group, back into the parole, and if you do it again, we put you in jail. So the thing was, because we work out of a tough love, because I'm working as a minister, a psychologist, so we would join, if you read my books and articles, they're all about joining theology and biblical stories with psychology treatment.
Wow.
So, for example, one of the stories used constantly in our group was the Prodigal Son.
Yep.
So we did these blokes from the church that had offended, and they've said, I've talked to Jesus, I've prayed to God, and I've been forgiven. I'd say, well, hang on, who are you talking to? Jesus. I don't know, not the Jesus I talked to. So we tell them the story of the prodigal who comes back out of the pigsty,
Yep.
right, doing the crappy things, back to the Father, who's the image of God,
Yep.
the loving Father, who's waiting for him. So I'll be waiting for you, but I can't give you the farm back. So the Father can't give him the farm back. So the homework assignment was, we read the story for those who never heard it. Where would you go to work tomorrow morning if you're in this story? Where does a young man go to work the next day? After the party, after the forgiveness, after the ring and the cloak. There's no farm to go to. Work for the brother, work for the father, work for the man that owns his farm, or build a new farm. I want it to be like it was with my daughter before. It never will be.
No.
If your daughter wants you, and that's probably a minority, but some do, it's a whole new farm you build.
Yeah.
If you've done adultery, been an adultery program that went alongside this, you can't be like it was with your wife. It never will be this, or your husband. It never will be the same again. It's a new relationship build. And you carry the broken one with you, and every now and again, one of you will cry, and you'll know you've made it through the worst of it because you comfort each other.
Yeah.
The one offended against
Interesting.
comforts the other.
How interesting.
So sometimes there's never reconciliation. often not a reconciliation. You just got to accept that. Like an alcoholic who wrecks his family, does the AA treatment, becomes an AA counsellor, but never reconciles with the family.
The forgiveness piece is really bloody hard.
I know. No, hang on. Watch out the forgiveness bit. That's a tricky one because forgiveness is something in the life of the person harmed, not the psychologist or anybody else. Some people, some women, I mean, look, we specialise in male offenders because you can't do everything.
Yep.
So the female offender's got to refer somewhere else.
Yep.
And it's a different dynamic and a whole different treatment process. So the women are often, we don't use the word victim because victim then becomes an identity, but we talk about the one harmed. So the women harmed have usually been harmed by men when they offend. Now, not always. There are some pretty crazy women out there.
Yeah.
But the men, they're often not victims or they've often not been offended against themselves.
Interesting.
They're poorly attached and they
act out.
So I said to that first man, I said, talk to me because we use wisdom in story method. So tell me your story. What was going on when you're in the back of the car with a 7-year-old? Talk to me through what's going on for you. He said, we were both lonely.
Oh, wow.
We were both lonely. So there's a we thing. So when a father says, I shouldn't be doing this with my daughter, very common for him to say to the daughter, we shouldn't be doing this.
Yes.
Not I shouldn't be doing this. So they bring the we in.
And
so a lot of women...
Corruption of eye language.
Oh, well, the women say to me, I probably brought it on.
Yeah, they do.
It was probably my fault. That's a very common thing.
Yeah.
So we assess each man and then we devise a program for there's a general program they're all in, which is about empathy, identity, formation, the things that weren't done in early therapy because you've done the wrong thing. So we put you in jail and we do a program that's cognitive and train you to think differently and stop doing that shit, right? Well, the treatment fails over
That's
and
not
over.
going to work.
Because I'm so poorly attached, this is just too threatening.
Yeah.
So when they came in, I'd say, who are you? Oh, well, why are you here? I've come because parole said, yeah, we know that. But tell me about yourself. Well, I've done this. No, I don't want to know about the offence right now. We'll come to that. That's very important. Right now, I want to know who you are. Blank answer.
What makes you tick?
They can't tell you because they don't know what makes them tick.
Because they don't know.
They don't know.
Self.
So
isn't it interesting?
So let's go the first few years of your life. Let's go through. So we're going to get to the offence and there's going to be a treat. You'll be in a group with people that are going to scare the daylights out of you. However, at the moment, I'm interested in you. Because if we get you liking you and knowing who you are and making better choice, you won't be doing this crap. Because a well-attached person who likes themselves and likes others and is sociable doesn't want to do that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So for some people, and there can be comorbidity that a psychopath, narcissistic or
With the
psychopath,
narcissistic, they're not going to take
they're not going to change. But you're saying you can work with people and they can change.
Yeah.
But they will always carry that brokenness.
Look, you've got to,
of how they've broken
'cause
relationship
they'll
and
often,
broken other people.
Especially the Christian ones that have done it or the ones that claim that, they want the forgiveness straight away. And they say, look, I can give you an L plate for a few years, maybe a P later on. But if you want to do treatment, the minimum is 3 years, but we'd prefer it to be longer. And many of the men we treated were 6-7 years in treatment.
Yeah.
They keep on. So the ones that are really keen, now you've got to be careful you don't get addiction because I think AA sometimes keeps people too long. So, my name's Bill, I'm an alcoholic, my last drink was 1935. That's a little long in my view.
And I still come to this group.
Yeah.
And not to help just because
Just
I like
because I'm
coming to the
addicted to
group.
it.
Yeah.
But-
Addicted to the group.
Replaced addiction.
But they need support. And we had as well as the treatment group, there was a support group that went on for many, many years.
Yeah.
Because some guys just struggle, with this stuff. One of the best things we had was I shouldn't name the company, but a very big company had a special program to take treated offenders and give them jobs. And one guy went right through to a management position.
Wow.
They specifically said, well, if they're safe and you reckon, well, as safe as you can hope, then we'll give them a chance.
But we need also then the social factors around that. So if they came back to our church, we welcome them and care for them, but we also need to make sure that...
Well, it depends on the man.
Yeah, it depends.
Every
And the
person's different. So you've got to do what they call risk assessment.
Yeah.
But risk assessment, while there are tools to help you do that, clinical interview, there are static tools like Static 99. There are psychological tools that are reasonable. But I've said in court over and over, because they want to say, will this man offend again? Dr. Powell say, no one's going to tell you that.
Yeah.
I won't. And if they do tell you that, don't believe them.
Yeah.
Just like a drink is possible for an alcoholic or an affair is possible for someone who's done it before, it's a risk factor. Now, you can make it as low as possible, but you can't make it nil because it's happened.
So you need to manage that risk.
Yeah, and they can never be a minister.
No.
They can never be a psychologist. There's a teacher. There are jobs you'll never do again. That's it. Even if I thought you could do that, like be a good psychologist.
It would be irresponsible to put you in that
and the
space of
society
temptation.
won't let you do that. But we can help you be as healthy as possible. Now, the art is knowing that who you are. Now, I had a letter just recently, and I've been retired many years, because unfortunately, it'd be nice if there was a clean break and you could say, I've done my job, you're off on your own. Inevitably, there are certain attachments that linger, and you've got to live with that. You don't foster it, but it'll happen. So one guy contacted me recently, and I just said, how's it going? How's the family? Well, he said, look, the family I offend, it's within the family. That's the most common offence within the family. Now, if it's a stranger offence, the risk goes up enormously because that's more intentional. But in family is very common, and he said, I know that it'll never happen. That part of the family, I accept that. But the inner family have been accepting, partly because I have said that's what I did. The marriage broke down. She's married again. I accept that. I've not got married again. I don't know if I ever will.
Yes.
But I'm getting on with my life. So this is a person being honest and carrying his story with him.
That's so curious. So I've got two questions.
Yeah.
One is, how hard is it for people to accept that truth about themselves?
Very, very hard.
And
very
how do
hard.
they find and not just blanket forgiveness like an empty word, but
Cheap
actually this resolution that I've done this, but I still have worth as a person that can be redeemed. I can't ever not have done that, but actually understand that I have at least some love for myself.
The psychology theology is tricky because I remember going to the jail years ago. I don't know whether it happened today, but the head psychologist said at the jail, I said, one of the problems with the men I work with, they feel put down a lot and discounted as people, as persons, because of what they've done. And that's a constant kind of refrain. And this head psychologist said, oh, well, you know what those men are like, Peter? They're always whinging. Those men. I said, well, the moment you call those men, you can't be a psychologist.
Yeah.
So you've got to begin with this is a human being that's in trouble. And we've got to make sure he's safe and the community's safe. That's a priority. And we always say, look, when you come here, read our program. First priority, the community, or first priority, the person you've harmed. Second priority, the inner family. Third priority, the wider community. Fourth priority, guess where you come? Number 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as long as you can accept that, we're going to have a great time together. And you've got to make it fun. It's a mad kind of idea, I know. But if there's not fun in treatment, they're not going to last because it's going to get too hard. So we'll do silly things, and I'm eccentric, and that's where the neurodiverse is so helpful in doing this. So I'll do silly, crazy things, but it's all about keeping you safe and keeping the community safe.
So you take what you do very seriously.
I take very seriously.
But at the same time, the need is to make sure that
be a
this
human being.
works.
That's right.
And so you do what works.
And I'll be honest, look, if you do the right thing, I'll work with you. And if you do the right thing, even if we're clashing sometimes with the court, I'll back you if you're doing the program. If you don't do the program, I'll walk you to the jail and let you go in and sleep at night with no problem at all.
Yeah.
So they know it's a tough love approach. I remember sitting in court one time and this guy was very seductive and thought he could get away with it. He'd done a pretty nasty offence in a school. And I said to the judge, Your Honour, look at this man, late 20s, handsome. I said he would seduce. He'd sell Eskimos fridges. They thought they got a good deal. The judge was laughing.
Wow.
And I told him I was going to say that today. Don't do it behind their back. I'm going to do this when you go to jail. He'd go to court. And so he's dangerous, Your Honour. And I've got to keep him in the program for a while because you do what you got to do with him. And that's not my job. But if you sentence him, then I'll work through the jail system. If you don't, I'll work with him. But I've got to hold him tight. I need a really strong parole period because look at him. give you a fridge, you thought it got a good deal.
Right.
So I use that kind of mad humour.
Yeah.
And he would know that. I'm going to say that kind of thing. So I'd warn him, say, look, you could look at your own personality. You could look in the mirror and say, look at me, I can really cute. I'm cute.
These are strengths, but they're also weaknesses.
They're weak. Yeah. So we work with a person. We work honestly with a person. We don't, no BS. And a lot of them came on board and worked really, really hard. I mean, we had some funny moments because sometimes you'd get...
But they're still people.
There's still people. We'd have people we used to mix them. This was a bit of a controversial thing in the early days. I'm not sure now. Child pornography we didn't call it pornography because children are not pornographic. So we got rid of the word child pornography. They still use it, unfortunately. So child exploitive material or adult exploitive material. Okay, so that was the non-criminal stuff. That's the adults looking at it, and then the children stuff. And I'm neurodiverse, John. I've lost track of why I was telling you that.
That's all right. The second question was going to be, as a victim and a survivor yourself, how
it's hard.
How do you find it in yourself to go? Because clearly everyone that comes to you is not the one that did it to you.
No, he's dead and gone, I think, but I'm assuming.
But how do you find the...
Because you got to...
What's the motivation?
Well, if I can treat you and if I can keep people safe and get you being a great guy and not doing that again, I've won, haven't I? That's a victory for me as well as for you in the community.
Yeah.
I'm no longer...
That's hope.
I'm not a victim. We've got rid of that word. I'm not a survivor. I even don't like that word because survivor gives me identity. So I'm Peter who... When I was a young kid, got offended against by a pedophile. He was a pedophile. And it really mucked my life up. But I'm who I am now. It guides who I am. It's very much part of me. I can still get traumatised by it. You wouldn't believe it. I went once with a minister's fraternal to a place for a picnic. I was in my late 20s, 30, and they put the blanket on the ground just where the tent was, where the bloke had offended on me at Cronulla. Like, hello, what's the odds of that happening? And every now and again I get triggered. I got PTSD, so I don't do that work anymore because I got to a point where I could not read the reports anymore about the children. Right. It just got too much. So 35 years, that was enough. So it's a way of saying it's a little contribution. It's like
You've used agency of your own agency to make a
guys in
difference.
35 years. That's still a drop in the bucket, but at least it's my contribution.
Yeah. Wow.
And only three or four
Ness.
offences in that time. Now,
Re-offences
that we know of.
Yeah.
That we know of. It could have been others we don't know of. But very low recidivism rate. Now, the irony about sex offending is that it's got one of the lowest recidivism rates in the jail system. People who steal cars and murder people, it's higher.
Interesting.
So it is very treatable, but you've got to get people that want to do it because the risks are very high. I mean, we had people, say, 2 or 3 years of the treatment and then they go to a party and then the child, it could be a cousin or something, and it's the age they offended, jumps on his knee because, here's Uncle Bill again. And then we'd raise that as a risk factor for them. Yeah. And they get really angry because you're not giving me a chance to get better. I said, we are.
Yeah.
Getting better is saying you'll never do that again.
Yeah, we're going to save the kids in the meantime.
So you need to protect yourself and protect the
I will
kid.
never, ever, to the rest of my days, have a 12-year-old girl or boy on my knee. That's where I offended. Even if I think I'm squeaky clean.
No, don't even do it.
It's no big deal. I can shake their hand, I can give them a high five, I can go out and play in the yard with them, but I just don't. And I don't go and camp in a tent with them.
No.
Yeah. That's just the bottom line. There are things you just don't do in the future.
Yeah.
If you've had an affair, you don't take your best or your church secretary to a nightclub and sit in a corner. I mean, but I'm not doing anything. It doesn't matter what you're not doing.
Yeah.
One man, a teacher said, I didn't do it. I'm innocent. I said, well, maybe you are. I don't know. That's not my job. But I'm interested in why you're in the cupboard with those 2 young girls on your own. I mean, I'm not. Did you did it? That's the court's job, not my job. My job as a psychologist. What were you doing in the cupboard with 2 children?
Yeah.
What dopey guy does that? You know? So then we look at, well, what can you do in your life that is risk-free or risk-low? Which means you don't go in cupboards with children. You don't have any isolated position with the child anytime. No teacher does these days. So you just live a safe life.
So there is hope for people?
Oh, I think so.
But we also need to learn as a society how to manage that.
You have to manage it. And
that hope, because it's filthy hope. It's not
It's not clean.
It's not that they're now cured, that they're now restored and new, but they're actually still.
There's a thing about healing.
There's a brokenness that we have to honour.
Well, there are very good programs that most of the churches have now for when you come in the church. These are the checks and balances. So there's risk assessment, there's mentoring, there's an assessment of how high the risk is, whether they can be in a mixed congregation, whether they go to a male group. There's multiple ways to do that, and each person is assessed differently.
So they can participate.
They can participate, but there's got to be
But
control.
it will never be as it was.
Well, there's a great text in the Bible, and this is how we bring these stories in for healing and treatment. There's a bloke that wants to get to Jesus because he's in a pallet. He can't walk.
Yeah.
He can't get there. So these offenders say, I'd like to get better, but I can't get better. I need help, right? Okay. So your friends or your treatment group will take you to the healing place. We'll take the tiles off the roof and we'll lower you down. You don't have to believe that you're going to get better. You can be a goose at the moment. If you can think, I didn't do anything wrong, that's fine. But we'll lower you, right, into the treatment. And then Jesus looks at this bloke and he says, your sins are forgiven. He doesn't say walk.
No.
So he heals the man of what is stopping his life
Yeah.
working. Then he cures him. Now, we're going to lower you to the divine story to get you a great guy again.
Yeah.
But you are never going to walk again. You are never going to get cured. This is a lifelong thing you'll die with. But you're going to be healed with good treatment because you'll be able to make the good choices, the right choices, be empathic. You won't be demanding. You'll lose the psychological characteristics that made you a pain in the neck in the first place, which led to the offending.
Yeah.
So if we don't get empathy from you, then we've got a problem, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to do all that. But you've got to accept the fact, I've done an offence and that'll be on my record forever.
Yeah. And I think God works that way. That when we accept that we can be forgiven,
but not forgotten.
but not forgotten. It's never forgotten.
Never
And it's never that we can't just walk away from that. We always carry that
and
with
you
us.
will know, if you've got empathy, you'll get days when you'll cry.
Yeah.
And that's normal and it's good.
And that's healing. Yeah.
One of the common things for those who were Christians, and then ironically, because I wasn't an evangelist in that, I'm just a psychologist, but people would say, well, why do you do what you do? I said, well, I love Jesus and I love you. Anyway, we had people become Christians out of the group. Anyway.
Far out.
But they would go to church, both groups, the new ones and the older ones, and they'd be sitting in church, they'd look up and I'd see a cross. They'd start crying.
Yeah.
I'd say, tell me why you're crying. Because you never try and tell them what they're thinking. Let them tell you. Say, because while I was doing that shit, Jesus was loving me at the very time I did it. And then the communion comes around, they lose it again. So losing it on the cross or losing it in communion is a good sign.
It's remorse and repentance.
Remorse is, I wish I hadn't done it. Repentance is, I know I did it and it was wrong.
Yeah.
There's plenty of remorseful men who got caught, and I'm remorseful because I owe this to my...
But I'm only sorry because I got caught.
Yeah, remorse. A lot of people have remorse but not repentance. Repentance is, I'll do whatever it takes to do it. I remember saying to one guy who got divorced after he offended, and he was arguing about the wife wants 50, she wants this and she wants... And there's this big battle over the house and the money. And I said, mate, if you were repentant, not remorseful, you'd give her the whole frigging house, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Anyway, I talked him into 25%, but I wouldn't get him out of the 100%, but he probably needs a bit of money. But he gave 75% to the wife as part of the treatment. I said, if you don't give more than 50, I don't think I want to work with you because you're just pulling my chain.
Well,
sorry I didn't talk much.
Hope. No, that's all right.
I didn't have. I just went into a bit of freeze.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Are you okay?
A little bit triggered.
Yeah.
A million things I want to say, but
Have you got time to say?
no.
No.
I'm just really grateful that you do the work you've done and that you have been able to do God's work in that
If you
space.
can do look, I
really
think Jesus was a no bullshit bloke. He went in a temple and tossed people out. We work with those men. Some we have to get rid of out of the group or that make them leave because we can't work with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the ones we can work with, we know, much as we can them anything, there's 400 blokes that won't hurt someone again.
Yeah.
That's children that are going to be safe.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so if
glad.
this is triggered for you as well, please do reach out and talk to somebody. Thank you for listening. Thanks,
Thanks,
Peter.
Peter.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ness.
Yeah, thanks for your work.
Amazing story of filth and hope, grit and grace. So, thanks, people.
Thanks for listening to Filthy Hope today. If you're not already a subscriber, could you maybe subscribe? It's going to really help other listeners find us.